Our Mr. Irrelevant series continues, and what a pleasure to be able to talk to somebody who has seen all the up, a few downs, a lot of ups though. Leigh William Steinberg, you probably know, is one of the preeminent sports agents, philanthropists that this country's had in the last, 50 to 100 years. Probably 300, 400 professional athletes represented, I'm guessing, across multiple sports. And Leigh, thank you so much for joining us. I'm fascinated to hear the stories that you can share, not about the Troy Aikmans of the world, because they were always going to be successful. You've represented guys that needed to dig down and believe in themselves. How did you inspire those kind of guys to go and do what they are capable of doing?
I think it's really important to have optimism and a sense of the ability to come back from reverses. So life will set us all back. It could be romantic relationships. It could be economic circumstances. It could be substance abuse. But invariably, life will set us back. So the only question is, when you hit a period where all your dreams are frustrated and chaos and darkness encircle you, what are the qualities you need to come back? I've got a book that's coming out of the Super Bowl called The Comeback: Resilience, Empathy, and What Matters. And the key is to be able to construct a method of coming back. And the first thing is a sense of proportionality. So when I struggled with alcohol, at a certain point I had an epiphany. And I thought, I'm not a starving peasant in Sudan. I'm not with the last name Steinberg in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. I don't have cancer. I don't have any major health problems. What excuse do I have to not live up to my father's admonitions, which were to treasure relationships, especially family, and make a meaningful difference in the world and help other people? And with alcohol, I found a 12-step program, a unique fellowship, and all I did was stay in process. Instead of thinking about the ultimate result and how things might be, I just took those steps necessary to lead to recovery. And not to tell people in the world, I have it this time is different, I'm going to do something remarkable here. Just to stack up days and to move that way. And Irrelevant Week has always been a great illustration of where people are and how they come back. Because when I originally started being involved with Irrelevant Week, the draft was 17 rounds. And the chance that the 17th round last pick was going to make it in pro football were infinitesimal. And then the draft changed to 12 rounds, and it became a little more possible. And then the draft changed to 7 rounds. So, and then we went into a salary cap system where, in order to pay the starting left tackle $20 million, his backup, by definition, has to be someone who's much more marginal, someone who's playing for the minimum. So as I got involved in Irrelevant Week, I told the different athletes, and remember that the symbol of Irrelevant Week was the Lozman Trophy. So it's an athlete fumbling a football. And but instead of looking at that as some dire circumstance, we looked at it from the standpoint of opportunity. And I told those people, if you don't count the roster numbers and look, they're going to keep 3 tight ends and I'm 4th and the rest of it. Just do those things at practice and training camp that are necessary to give you the best chance for success. So I used to be the official designated agent of Irrelevant Week. And what they had me do every year was to talk about the fact that in the world of irrelevant, for that week, the last shall be first and the first shall be last. So there were a number of years where I'm representing the very first pick in the first round. And I said, in irrelevant world, I'm going to negotiate your contract. And I would mock up a contract that would give them exorbitant signing bonus. And then it would be filled with a number of clauses. So, for example, we had in the contract that the player didn't have to practice in any day that ended in the letter Y. We had a clause that said if the mean temperature at game time is below 50 degrees, the player didn't have to play. So we mocked up and actually gave to the player a contract, and I told him it's worth the paper it's printed on, and make sure to take it to the bank really quickly.
Yeah. So you mentioned your book that you have coming out, and I need to mention you've already had a terrific one that, hard to believe, is now more than 25 years ago that it came out, Winning with Integrity, which is still on my shelf. Getting What You Want Without Selling Your Soul, which is a great title. What have you learned between that book and this book? How are things a little bit different in your presentation, one to the other?
Well, I, first of all, have always known, but I learned even more, that listening skills are one of the keys to navigating your way through life. If you can draw out another human being and probe below the surface, because men don't share so easily, and if you can find out someone's deepest anxieties and fears and their greatest hopes and dreams, and put yourself in the other person's mind. Try to see the world the way the other person sees it. You can navigate your way through life gracefully. And again, as I told you before, you learn a sense of proportionality, that all these small problems. My dad used to have a plaque above his back. He was a principal, and it said, of all our problems, great and small, the greatest are those that never happen at all. And so if you can keep a sense of perspective towards reverses and problems and understand that, I'm alive in the 21st century with the most amazing technology. I live in a country that has freedom of speech and democracy. I didn't fight in a war to do that. If you can get some sense of perspective about how actually good you have it and do a gratitude list, it can give you a sunnier perspective and much more ability to come back.
Do you think, Leigh, that you would have found your way down that path had it not been for your dad? It seems like a lot of these elementary life lessons kind of came from him.
Yeah, they did. One of his keys in terms of trying to change the world for the better was that if you see a problem as small as picking up a piece of paper off the floor, or as big as combating racism or climate change. And the tendency is to wait for the amorphous they or them to solve the problem. Older people, political figures. And he would say, if you're waiting for that, you could wait forever. The they is you, son, you're the they. So it gives you a sense of responsibility towards other people on the planet to try to make a positive difference.
One of the differences you made, and it's hard to believe this was so many years ago now, I mean, this was 1992, baseball fans might not even remember how integral you were to make sure the San Francisco Giants did not become the Tampa Bay Giants. And that's something very positive, some change that you effected. Just to get it away from football a little bit, I know this was 30 plus years ago, but what are some of the lessons you learned from that particular journey? Because you were the guy with the jousting stick in his hand pretty much through all that time.
So Mayor Jordan of San Francisco called me and said the Giants had signed a binding sales agreement with a group of people in Tampa Bay. And what I said to him and what I realized is we don't have to accept that as a fait accompli. And if you become ensconced with the concept that it's inevitable they're going to leave and there's nothing we can do about it, then it's going to happen. But I was pretty sure that we could convince the National League and Major League Baseball that it was not in the best interest of baseball to rip a team out of the heart of loyal fans. Because a baseball team, after all, is a private business, but it claims to be a civic treasure. And so just as important to the Bay Area is the Golden Gate Bridge and everything, Fisherman's Wharf. And you then can't take the team away if it's just for more money. And so what I learned is that it took a lot of convincing for the public to be able to get behind the concept that we could find a new group of owners, we could find a new stadium, we could convince the National League that this just wasn't in the best interest of baseball. And eventually we were able to find all that and triumph.
Now, I want to hop tracks just for a moment here, Leigh, getting back to some of your personal battles, very public battle with alcoholism. I think you're very brave for being out front with it. Bankruptcy as well. And as men, I think those are two things that front and center. We don't want people to see that we're weak. We don't want people to see that we can't handle our money. So how did you reconcile? How did you walk that path and choose to become public facing with it, front facing, to try to teach people how to navigate if they have challenges too?
Because the essence of my practice all these years has been the concept of the athlete as role model. And I had them go back to the high school community, the professional community, and the collegiate community and set up charitable programs and to trigger imitative behavior. So I have this crash, where I basically had to start again. And the question is, how can I help people who are still out there struggling? How can I help people who are despondent, depressed, and it could be alcohol, it could be food disorder, it could be drugs, it could be any gambling. But the point is, how can I offer them hope? How can I give them a hand up? How can I jumpstart their process? And I thought, what lifetime would I be waiting for to try to be of assistance to other people? So I've been public about my alcoholism. I'm in my 16th year of continuous sobriety, but the point is, so I post those days on social media. I have a national group of people who sort of stay in touch, and I consider if my whole charge is changing the world for the better, this is one way in which I can contribute.
Well, philanthropically, you've done so many other things as well. I mean, the Human Relations Commission, Children Now, Children's Miracle Network, on and on and on. What grabs you? Is there some hook that gets you towards a certain charity or charitable arm? What's effective to really pull you into something, do you find?
A empathy with the affected group. So, for example, I created a program with the Anti-Defamation League to teach young professionals in the fight against hate. And we did it in 30 cities and created an advanced vanguard of specifically trained people. Well, right now we have a spate of white supremacy, anti-Semitism, and the question is, who's going to push back? Well, sort of got to be us. Or I'm representing half the starting quarterbacks in football and they keep getting hit in the head. And we go to doctors and ask them how many are too many, what's the magic number to contemplate retirement? And they have no answers. So I thought, how can I say I have a fiduciary responsibility to athletes that I'm representing and not consider the fact they may be going down the road to dementia? So we started brain health summits, and I've done about 25 of them where we explore prevention, awareness, and cure, and just set up a charitable foundation in my name, which is raising money for more research and raising awareness and helping affected groups. So it's a sense of responsibility and then a sense of caring for the affected group that's not doing so well. I have had a blessed life, and it's my obligation to help people who haven't.
It's really inspirational stuff. And before we say goodbye to you, I can't thank you enough, Leigh, for spending this much time with us. I do have a question about kind of the state of the agent business these days. And for those that don't know, often people, if you see Jerry Maguire, someone will put their hand in the air and say, well, yeah, that was based on, that's the real life inspiration. That's Leigh Steinberg. That's who that guy was. I need to ask you first, do you still like hearing that? Do you absolve yourself? Hey, I'm not Jerry Maguire. Or do you like when people say that?
So Jerry Maguire is a fictitious person that Cameron Crowe created, but I spent 2 years with him telling him stories about my life, and some of it obviously makes it to the screen. And I was a technical advisor, and Cameron Crowe was someone who had done a film called Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So he went everywhere I went. He went to the NFL league meetings. He came to the draft with me. He came to Pro Scouting Day. He came to games, the Super Bowl party we throw every year. And so it's been 27 years, and I can't really ever go out to a restaurant or go through an airport where someone doesn't run up and say those 4 words that start with "show me the."
Yeah, well, that was your job. Yeah, and became immortalized. I'm wondering, though, with modern agents, and then you can't pigeonhole, everybody's not the same. I get that. But do modern day agents take that kind of yoke of social responsibility that you've shouldered for all these years, or younger agents in need of a little crash course in, hey, it's not just about showing your client the money, it's about populating some important ideas like the ones you've talked about?
So we do agent academies, and I've done about 35 of them. We've trained about 10,000 people, and we teach them how to have values and ethics and see the power of sports to make a difference. And we specifically teach them real skills like how to listen, how to recruit, how to negotiate, how to set up a charitable foundation, how to brand and market. So I've tried to create a new generation that would share the same values. Obviously, traditional agentry is just a business, so it's just about the money, but it can be so much more. And it's taking a holistic look at a young man and thinking about how we propagate good values, how we help him be a role model, how we plan for second career from the beginning. I asked him the question, what else in life besides athletics is something that you're interested in? And we plan for that second career. And then health and wellness. It's all of those things are important. And is traditional agentry about that? No. But can it be? Yes.
Leigh, again, can't thank you enough. You're an inspiration in so many different ways. The first book, which again, hard to believe is all those 25, 26 years ago, so great. Cannot wait to sink my teeth into the second one now. And I just urge you to keep doing what you do. Just keep fighting the good fight and help us remind everybody that we all do matter and that we're all in this together. I think sometimes we forget that. If you're a number one pick, people are telling you all kinds of stuff all the time about how great you are and you're way up here. You seem to be able to have your magic is that you remind people, whether it's a Patrick Mahomes or a Troy Aikman or whomever, that we're all in this together. I just think that's such a wonderful message. So thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Leigh Steinberg with us. That is the Mr. Irrelevant podcast. Hope you enjoyed. Take care.